It's a common problem. You've grown up, you have a job, a mortgage, and perhaps a little human that requires a rear-facing seat. So that means you can no longer have your two-seat sports car, but you also don't want something that makes you feel dead inside. You want a sports sedan, specifically a sensible one. So that means you're looking at one of these two. The 2026 Hyundai Elantra N-Line is the Goldilocks of the Elantra range. Not the base model that's powered by a hamster on a wheel, and not the full Elantra N, which is a bit of a hooligan. The Volkswagen Jetta GLI is the GTI's older, more responsible brother who wears iron shirts and knows how to use a spreadsheet. But underneath, it still knows how to party. Let's start with the numbers, but don't worry, I'm not going to make this into a spreadsheet. The Elantra N-Line uses a 1.6-liter turbo 4-cylinder that sends 201 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque to the front wheels. The Jetta GLI, on the other hand, brings a sword to the knife fight. It has a 2-liter turbo engine which pumps out 228 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. You can feel the extra shove of the power in this Jetta GLI. It makes merging on a highway super easy, almost as easy as winning a soccer game against a 5-year-old. There is torque steer when you get a bit overzealous with your right foot, but the adaptive dampers and the limited slip differential do a great job of trying to suppress it. The Elantra N-Line is obviously not going to be as fast as the Jetta, but in a straight line, it's not going to be too far off the pace of it. This little 1.6 engine loves to rev, and it even has good low-end grunt when you're just driving around the city. However, it's the 7-speed dual-clutch transmission that just ruins the driving experience a little bit. Unfortunately, this 7-speed dual-clutch is the only transmission you can get with the Elantra N-Line. There used to be a 6-speed manual option, but Hyundai decided to get rid of it. I guess not enough people bought it. This 7-speed isn't quite as slick shifting as the 8-speed in the Elantra N, and at times when setting off from a stop, it's as though the computer is still learning how to use a manual transmission. As for the Jetta, it's available with a 7-speed DSG, aka a dual clutch, or this 6-speed manual. While having a manual transmission is fun, this one doesn't feel quite as sharp as the shifter in the Civic Si, for example. It's a bit soft and tailored more towards daily commutes rather than sporty activities. Shifter feel aside, the steering is precise and nicely weighted. It's as a German car should feel. It's planted, confident, and if a bit serious. Through corners, the adaptive dampers do a great job of ironing out mid-corner bumps, and the limited slip differential just lets the car put its power down without much fuss. The Elantra N-Line is more playful. It's lighter and the front end is more eager to turn in, making it feel smaller than it actually is. There's also less torque steer as you exit a corner, which means that it's easier to drive this car quickly. The Jetta GLI is the one you take to a fast, flowing road and just settle into a rhythm. It's balanced, solid, and you trust that it'll keep you on the black stuff. The Elantra N-Line is the one that makes you giggle a bit more. It's not as quick, but it loves to change direction, and the chassis has that slightly cheeky edge that encourages you to carry a bit more speed than you probably should. Of the two, it's this Elantra N-Line that is overall more efficient. I say overall because in a city environment, this Elantra N-Line does get better fuel economy than the Jetta. But interestingly, on a highway, the Jetta can get better fuel economy than this Elantra N-Line, even with the 6-speed manual transmission. Of course, these performance cars also need to be comfortable and be able to deal with crater-sized potholes. The Jetta GLI rides firmly but with a sophisticated edge. On smoother highways, it feels composed and planted, with just enough firmness to remind you it's the sporty one. Over broken pavement, you do feel sharper impacts into the cabin, but the damping is controlled enough that it never gets crashy. The Elantra N-Line is similarly firm, but not as forgiving. It's a bit more harsh when driving over broken pavement or expansion joints on a bridge. The ride is not overly firm, but of the two, the Jetta's adaptive dampers are the clear winners. On the inside, both of these cars need to do grown-up things like carry actual humans in the back and enough luggage for a weekend getaway. The Elantra and Jetta offer generous amounts of legroom and headroom in the front seats for taller individuals. It's in the back where you may notice a difference, with the Elantra offering just a tiny bit more legroom for those taller friends of yours. The Jetta is not bad, but it did have a little bit more space in the Elantra. In the trunk, the Elantra N-Line provides 402 liters, while the Jetta GLI offers 399 liters, so basically they're the same. Both cars feature driver-centric interiors, with the infotainment touchscreen and the climate controls being cantered slightly towards the driver, as it should be in any sports car. But the interior of this Jetta feels just a little bit more premium compared to the Elantra N-Line. The leather, the plastics, the buttons, they just have a bit more of an upscale feel. But when it comes to functionality, I personally like using the buttons and knobs in the Elantra more. It's very simple and straightforward. I also prefer Hyundai's infotainment system a bit more for its ease of use. The menus are well laid out, the system is responsive, and the graphics look great. The VW system takes a bit more getting used to if you've never experienced it before, but it too has crisp and clear graphics. On the feature side, it's the Jetta that takes home the prize. Of course, both cars have basic features like dual zone climate controls, heated front seats, heated steering wheels, wireless phone charging pads, and so on. But in the Jetta, you can get it with ventilated front seats, heated rear seats, and even a memory driver seat. The Elantra N-Line doesn't have any of that. Traditionally, European cars tend to be more expensive than their counterparts from Japan or Korea. And with this comparison, it's no exception. The Volkswagen Jetta GLI starts at $35,395 Canadian, while the Hyundai Elantra N-Line starts at $32,099 Canadian. Both, however, are fully loaded models here in Canada, so there aren't really any options or packages to add to them. So after you've looked at all the brochures, watched all the YouTube reviews, and argued with strangers on the internet, which one is the better option? Well, the Jetta GLI is the grown-up sedan. It's quick, refined, and built to chew up long distances with ease. The Elantra N-Line looks wilder, it's a bit more eager to play when the roads get interesting, and it's the cheaper option. Either way, both cars sit in the middle of the fun versus sensible spectrum. Both cars keep the affordable sports sedan alive in a world that seems to be obsessed with EVs and crossovers. So the better one is the one that makes you look back at it once you walk away from it in a parking lot. Personally, I do like the Jetta GLI, but the Hyundai Elantra N-Line is slightly better value for your money. So they each have their own pros and cons. But which one would you choose? Let me know your argument for which one you think is better down in the comment section below. And in the meantime, if you would like to know more about either of these two cars, I have a more detailed comparison review of them over on my website. You can find that link in the video description or click on the pop-up banner right up there. And as always, I will see you in the next car, truck, or most likely it'll be an SUV next time. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and see you in the next one.